Morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain? Who could complain on a day like today? So, looks like people are streaming in. The new studio here with Rumble is a little slower to react with some of the comments when I first get going. So I'll let them pour in, give you guys a minute. People talking about it on X. Let me get it out there. Let me get it out there. There we go. People coming in. People coming in. People coming in. We like it. We like it. All right, let's just acknowledge we've got a sunrise. It's bleak and gray again. It's been bleak and gray pretty much every day. I don't know if I've ever even been able to test what sunshine looks like coming in this new northern studio. Points a few. Greetings from the Netherlands. We love the Netherlands. I almost had some Netherlands stuff on the agenda today, but we'll save it for another day. We shall save it for another day. All right, so the sun's up. You know, it's happening. As gray as it is, it's happening, right? Bitcoin's running without any trouble, guys. We're doing great with the Bitcoin. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee, talk about what's new. Very delicious. Very delicious. Aqualodge, hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. PH says, morning, plebs. Good morning, PH. Hope you're doing great. Bitcoin Deb says, Suntech is finally working here in New Hampshire. Well, send it our way. Send it our way. But I'm out of here today. This is my last day on this continent for a week. I'm out of here. B for victory, Beaumatin. Good morning, Bitcoiners. Robert, here we go. Indeed, here we go. We got a great one. There we go. Wisteria says, good morning, Nolan. Want to buy your book with Bitcoin? I'm assuming I can do that. You sure can, but it isn't set up yet. I'll be getting it set up. That's sort of after I go to Hong Kong and Qatar. I'm going to Qatar tonight. After I go to those two places, I'll come back and do some of this stuff. We are going to be running a few episodes. I might miss a couple. We'll see. But I will be from communist Australia. Indeed. Timothy Vanderlinden. Hello, Ben. Yeah, so we might miss one or two times. We'll see how it goes. But we're definitely going to be broadcasting. Well, not definitely. There is a high-speed internet option on the airplane that I'm flying on tonight. And that airplane, and I will be in the air tomorrow morning when this show would normally be going. So I'm going to attempt to do the breakup from 30,000 feet. We'll see how it goes. I'm only optimistic because they offer 2 tiers of internet on the airplane. There's like normal internet, and they say high speed. So I'm going to test out high speed. I'm going to see if it's possible. We're going to see. We're going to see. Yeah, well, we'll see. So, expect there to be a show. I'm going to put it together. I'll test the internet beforehand. I'll at least know my connection speeds. If I can do it, I'll do it. If I can do it, I'll do it. I think I'll be able to do it. I've got space on the airplane to do it. So we're going to give it a shot. We're going to give it a shot. But tomorrow morning, I'll be, at this time, I will be in the airplane. Some books. C. Berger says, hey, last week you mentioned you've written some books. Can you post links to purchase them? You can read a lot of the previews of those books, or in the case of the NPC management or the U.S. elections guide, you can get the whole thing on PDF for free. I will be selling it for Bitcoin in a hard copy edition, but the Amazon hard copy publishing interface is not quite as press play, push button as it sounds. There's a few things I need to do. It's not a big deal. It's only like 2 or 3 hours of my time, which I don't think I can do in one bite. So it's like 2 days of 1 or 2 hours each. And I just haven't had the time to do that recently. So you will be getting some of these books by the end of this month. I'll announce some of the dates and all that stuff in a little while. But there you go. There you go. What are you doing in Qatar? Understanding Bitcoin says, well, I'm going to meet a few people, nothing official. It's more or less the same strategy I used a few years ago when El Salvador was in rumor mills. So more or less right when Bukele took power in 2019, I went there to check stuff out and met people, and just it ended up being useful as time went on. It was just more or less follow the energy. Something's happening. I didn't believe it. Went and saw it. I said maybe, and then that was in 2019, and things obviously worked out in El Salvador. So Qatar is a bit of the same thing. So I'm just going to check stuff out, and that's it. I will be doing the Bitcoin Magazine show in Hong Kong, which is really what I'm doing. So the Qatar thing is just, it was the way I could get there. And when I was putting this trip together, let's say back in January, I said, well, if I can go to Qatar on the way, and I haven't been that way to Asia before. And so I said, well, if the rumors are true, I might as well get there first, right? Which I did. So we'll see. So it's really just a little bit of chilling and talking to people who are there. Greg says, good morning from Greg and Grace in Florida. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Grace. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. All right. I think we got enough people in here now to do a little Moscow time. Moscow time. The weekend is just filled with Moscow time because I guess they put the interns or whatever, right? It's like the summer content for news. It's always extra fake. Always. So we got some good fake stuff here. Let's start. We're going to start with the Washington Post. All right, everyone. Ready? We haven't heard one of these in a while. These were a genre that we followed closely back in 2022, a little bit in 2023, but it looks like it's everywhere now. The Washington Post writes, according to a new study, people with gas and propane stoves breathe in unhealthy levels of nitrogen dioxide, which can trigger asthma and other respiratory conditions. Gas stoves spread harmful pollution beyond the kitchen. It's beyond the kitchen. Careful, careful. Now, you know, you might use those stoves to cook up a steak, right? But then there's some people who think, I like bugs. I'm going to eat bugs, right? You know, they're worried about the environment. They're worried about the cow farts, right? We've heard a lot about cow farts. But Daily Mail says PETA, no, they're not doing the bug thing, all right? And it's not okay with them. Bugs have feelings too, according to PETA. The Daily Mail writing, PETA in an uproar in growing trend of cicada menus. Oh, geez, those jerks making cicada menus. PETA in an uproar and growing trend of cicada menus as summer bloom approaches. An animal rights group uses people dressed as insects eating humans. You don't want to eat the guys. The invertebrates have feelings. Just because they don't have a backbone and we're not quite sure how their nervous system works, they have feelings. Okay. I know maybe when you were a kid, you dissected and pulled apart insects, you know, but that was really, really cruel. It was cruel. You're a cruel person and you shouldn't eat them. They have as much rights. Yeah, bugs fart too. As I says, the bugs fart too, right? Come on, guys. The bugs fart too. So we got to be very sensitive towards the bugs' feelings here. All right. We're doing our best. We're doing our best. All right. Now, this is equally distressing, right? This is really bad, right? So we know that we're getting poisoned from the gas stoves. If we want to make steaks, well, they've already farted, so they've already done the damage. Don't make the cicadas, right? Because cicadas fart too. But we have a whole new problem here, guys. This is a whole new problem. Washington Post writing, overfishing and human-caused climate change, of course, are decreasing the size of adult fish. Science is telling us that. So I'm just going to guess here. Okay, I'm going to keep reading the headline, right? So overfishing and human-caused climate change are decreasing the size of adult fish, threatening the food supply of more than 3 billion people who rely on seafood as a significant source of protein. Fish are shrinking around the world. Here's why scientists are confused. So the confused scientists have, guys, I'm just going to let you know, like, I know how science works. Okay. I'm sure they went out, they measured a whole bunch of fish over history. Like, they have all the records of exactly how big fish were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. They know the size of all the fish. So they measured all the fish, right? So we have a really good database of fish size, right? So we can compare. We can compare. It's just like temperature. We can measure the temperature of the world, just like we can measure all the fish. That's what they did. I didn't even have to read the article. I know it. I know it. Credible. Credible. They know. Now we got other problems here. Washington Post letting us know, as winters warm, white-tailed deer push ever northward in North America. So if you're up there in the north and you see a white-tailed deer, go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Global warming brought you here. Jeez. Just like all the migrants that AOC is worried about. It's global warming. They're running away from global warming, right? I bet you the deer are going to get checked at the border soon, right? There's going to be some Republicans saying, check them deer, right? A recent study in global change biology suggests that climate change, no way, is driving these habitat shifts. Changes they may further threaten. Oh, here's the threat, guys. We got to be careful. We got to stop it all now. They're going to threaten the woodland caribou in northern Canada. The deer are coming to push out the caribou. They're coming. It's a replacement theory. It's replacement theory, everyone. Washington Post talking about replacement theory here. Jeez. Wow. Good for them. It gets better, though. This headline is just kind of funny. I don't know what the science is behind it, but it's kind of good, right? It just reads funny. It's from The Economist, so no comment needed, right? I never worried about golden rice before, but after this headline, all right, The Economist says no serious scientific evidence suggests that golden rice or any genetically modified foodstuff, any of it, harms human health. There's no serious scientific evidence of that, guys. If you thought there was serious scientific evidence of that, you're stupid. You're stupid. America, Australia, and New Zealand have all ruled it safe. Golden rice. So why has a court in the Philippines decided to ban it? Idiot Filipinos. That's what The Economist is saying. The Economist is saying, why are those idiot Filipinos doing this? So stupid. So dumb. So dumb. Right? And this is my favorite one of the day. We got more. We got a big Moscow time today. We got more. This is The Guardian. Why Genghis Khan was good for the planet. Laying waste to land scrubbed 700 million tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It's not because he spread powerful genetics. No. It's because Genghis Khan did a little help with the global warming, guys. He's a hero. He's a hero. It's not Genghis Khan. It's Greta Khan. He's better. He's better than Greta, right? He did all that. He did all that killing, but he got rid of the 700 million tons. That's a lot. I think it's a lot. Good for him. Good for Genghis Khan. What a hero of the climate movement. We need more Genghis Khans. We need more. Now, The Guardian has another one here, but I'm going to disagree, or I'm going to agree with The Guardian, right? I'm going to agree with The Guardian here. Okay, so The Guardian is writing about Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld, if you know, commented this week that Hollywood was dead and that woke liberal PC bullshit killed it, right? So that's Jerry Seinfeld's opinion, right? Now, Jerry Seinfeld is a billionaire comedian, comedian, okay? He's not just a comedian, he's a billionaire comedian, right? And but this writer knows more about it, right? I think this writer for The Guardian knows more about comedy than I actually do. I'm gonna agree with the writer. So The Guardian says, no, Jerry Seinfeld. The extreme left hasn't killed comedy. The comedians claim actually that wokeness is the reason why comedy is no longer as funny as is lazy and inaccurate. Actually, that's what he says. Now, do you guys think Jerry Seinfeld has a point? Do we think Jerry is right or wrong? Or are you going to agree with the Guardian writer who's working for probably 40 pence an hour? I don't know what that is. I have no idea. He's working for pence, though. He's working for not Mike Pence. He's working for, what are the pennies of pounds? Pence, right? He's working for pence. So this guy working for pence tells us he's an expert in comedy. But I'm going to agree with him, right? I'm going to agree with this guy. Because if it wasn't for the woke left, right? If it wasn't for these people, Jerry Seinfeld says they killed comedy. I'm telling you, they are comedy. They are the comedy. All right, look at these headlines. I mean, you're not going to find funnier than this. You're just not going to find funnier than this, right? We got this one. Chicago teachers, $50 billion demands. So the Chicago Teachers Union has asked for $50 billion. What's the entire budget of Chicago? It's 50 billion. They're teaching math. It's perfect. It's perfect. We got more. We got more. We got more. We got this one also from The Guardian. Thinking of children as state assets may be the way forward. Jerry says the far left is killing comedy. They are a comedy. They are. They are. Right? We got this one from Boeing, right? What's going on over at Boeing? How is this not funny? Boeing faces 10 more whistleblowers after 2 die. People's lives are at stake. How can you not find that headline funny? It's funny. It's a funny headline. It gets better. This one's true, all right? The Washington Post. Defunding NPR would impact 247 members operating more than 1,000 stations and would harm our democracy. How is that not funny? NPR being gone is going to harm our democracy. It's true. It's true. It's true. What would we do without this stuff, right? Where would we go? Where would we go? We got these ones too. Listen to this. We've got Columbia law students. The law students want school to cancel finals, pass all students because they're irrevocably shaken after the protest. How is this not funny? Jerry says they killed it. They are the comedy. It's too good. It's too good. It's too good. So there you go. This one's also funny, right? Just because of the way they wrote it. The Washington Post writes, now, how did you not know this, guys? Come on. Protests connect the plight of Gaza to fundamental American values. Anyone inclined to dismiss these protests as the irrational exuberance of privileged students with an incoherent ideology should consider the iconography. I'm going to read it again in case you're too stupid. They're so smart. It's such a good headline. I got to read it again. Protests connect the plight of Gaza to fundamental American values. Anyone inclined to dismiss these protests as the irrational exuberance of privileged students with an incoherent ideology should consider the iconography. Come on, guys. You weren't considering the iconography? What? What were you doing without considering the iconography? What were you doing? Who knows? If I'm not considering the iconography, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing, right? What are you supposed to be doing if you're not considering the iconography? And this one's great too, right? Analysis by Phil Bump. The protests on college campuses that emerge in opposition to Israel's handling of the war in Gaza are a proxy fight. It's less about Gaza than a dispute between those critical of the U.S. and those rejecting the criticism. But his actual headline is the grinding familiarity of the jocks versus hippies proxy fight. It's all jocks versus hippies, everyone. It's all jocks versus hippies. All right, I got my last one of Moscow time, and it's excellent. All right, so the Canadian government created a task force to find out if foreigners had been into election meddling in Canada, right? Election meddling apparently happened in Canada as well. So Canada's public inquiry into foreign interference report lists 3 examples of election interference. Well, let me get the headline first. Basically they said it was, where is it? Dang. Oh yeah, here we go. Here it is. Anyway, the headline, which I did not copy, is pretty good. It's what they said was how can I not see it here? So they ended up doing this election inquiry thing, and their conclusion was it's just a stain on Canada. So the headline, which I didn't put there, is that it's a stain. It happened. China interfered in our election, but it didn't change the result. It's just a stain. And in the report, they actually gave a few examples. The latest, most relevant one they gave was Otto von Bismarck's 1884 election propaganda against the British PM. Oh, geez. Okay, so I don't know how I didn't get that. I don't know where I put that. So speaking of election stuff, right? Speaking of election stuff, we've got the this commission apparently that existed in America. The White House has agreed to disband the group of experts who signed the letter dismissing the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. So this is what it was called. It was called the Homeland Intelligence Experts Group. And these were the guys they had running all the propaganda around the election. These were the guys who said, according to our beliefs, the earmarks of Russian influence can be verified by looking at this stuff. So it looks like they're gone, right? The Biden administration has decided to disband a panel known as the Homeland Intelligence Experts Group, which included figures such as former CIA Director John Brennan and a former Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper. Both Brennan and Clapper were signatories of the controversial October 2020 letter that dismissed allegations regarding a laptop associated with Hunter Biden as potentially being Russian disinformation. This letter was in response to the New York Post suggesting questionable emails linked to Hunter Biden. So here's the thing about this group, right? Now, and it's one of the reasons why Bitcoiners are having, I think anyway, a great time watching fiat implode the way it is, the entire fiat world. Why it's so funny for us to watch. And it's simple. We predicted this was going to happen. We predicted these outcomes were going to become apparent to all Americans. So when you make those predictions, when you warn people they're going to have to suffer in this certain way, and then it actually happens the way you predicted it, it's kind of okay to sit back and say, well, I kind of told you this would happen. So Bitcoiners, as all of this stuff is going on, are pretty much still on track with their worldview, still assuming that we're going to head in the direction that we've been heading in correctly, as we predicted correctly, for the last 12, 13 years. Now, everyone out there in the Bitcoin world, we see all this stuff going on. We see that we've been right about the media. We've been right about election integrity. We've been right about banks. We've been right about corruption in entering our government. Our worldview that the government are more criminal, that it's a criminal organization and not really something there to protect you, not really something there to save you, not really something there to serve you. It's in fact the opposite. That worldview, which seems so strange to most people 5 years ago, is now becoming the mainstream view. So Bitcoiners, as all this stuff is going on, don't need to really sit here and say, oh my God, what's happening? The world's on fire. Our worldview has to be adjusted. We're exactly on schedule. This is exactly what it would look like. Now, I know for those reasons that Bitcoiners are worried about the CoinJoin stuff, right? So we've been hearing that for a while. Now Wasabi Wallet shutting down, Wasabi Wallet announcing after years of relentless dedication to improve Bitcoin's privacy, ZK Snacks, the company pioneering the development of Wasabi Wallet, was shutting down its CoinJoin coordination service effective in a month. So we've seen also Samurai Wallet fall into a similar thing. Tornado Cash, of course, already in jail, already tried, all that stuff. The lawyers will be in Hong Kong with us to talk about it. But here's the thing, right? Now, all of this stuff is bad. It's no good. Right? We don't want to see any of this stuff. But again, some people, myself included, and I don't think every Bitcoiner agreed on this, but from my worldview that I've been predicting for years, that the privacy thing was after our victory in privacy and cementing privacy rights for people around the world who want to transact with Bitcoin or anything else, was after the fight against the federal government and the fiat money printing process. So there's two things happening at once. It's Bitcoin, the commodity, as it can affect, and I mean just as a commodity that you trade, right? So oil and Bitcoin, the way it's traded as a commodity. You can treat the coin as a commodity. That's where all this monetary policy type Bitcoin, Safedian stuff comes from, right? It is a commodity, and its first fight in this characterization of it as a commodity is in this world of the separation of money and state. There's an entirely separate part of Bitcoin where block space and the developments on top of Bitcoin and the actual technical capabilities of Bitcoin is also a commodity. Block space is a commodity and Bitcoin is a commodity. They're two separate commodities, right? Now, the way I always viewed this is we were going to win the monetary commodity fight first because we would get the right allies, in particular Wall Street and the energy companies. Block space as a commodity is a completely separate world and really involves a lot of this privacy stuff. So you saw, Giacomo Zucco saying this weekend when everyone was saying the maxis have put the brakes on development of Bitcoin for the purposes of the monetary commodity thing and the separation of money and state thing, the Bitcoin standard thing. They've let and atrophied the block space commodity piece where we could have privacy enhancing technology. So I continue to believe that it's a two-step process. We won't get to the privacy until we get to the defunding of government using Bitcoin monetary capacity and its commodity as a monetary unit of store value, unit of account, and all that stuff. So as we affect the ability to have price discovery in efficient markets, we will be able later on to take care of the privacy piece, right? So, but go back to the point that I just mentioned about the monetary policy piece, and you'll start to see how different things are this year in this cycle right now in 2024 than they ever have been in the past. And just to show the amount of reinforcements Bitcoin as a monetary policy, Bitcoin as a commodity in global markets is about to get. Just look at this wealth tax that Biden has implemented. And I guess my overall understanding of this now is that Bitcoiners have understood what fiat failing is going to look like. It's going to look like a complete chaos, spaghetti noodles of price discovery breaking, of no one understanding the price of anything, no one understanding the price of houses, the price of oil, the price of other commodities, because the unit of account, the actual measurement, dollars in this case, is broken. So you're not able to get much rationality behind anything because the thing it's being measured in and discussed in doesn't make sense itself. And especially when you put the taxes on top of it, when you put the taxation on top of it, especially these really ephemeral taxes that they're trying to implement, which is the what's the one again where the unrealized capital gains one, which is the most aberrant of all of them. So look at who's coming to help Bitcoin. Now, I understand the privacy stuff sucks. I don't want to see anyone in jail. But the real fight we have to win first in order to even get those privacy preserving things are with really the rich people, right? We got to get the rich people on our side. We got to get the energy people on our side. The people who don't really care who's managing this stuff as long as they're prioritized, as long as they're privileged, right? So I've always believed that our ability to corrupt through greed, Wall Street and the energy industry is the fastest way to get to a Bitcoin standard, the fastest way to make the commodity of Bitcoin the biggest deal. The privacy stuff helps plebs hide from the government, which I'm all for. I'm not against any of that, right? I just don't think it's the order of things. You know, a lot of people out there, you'll hear, what's his name these days? He's doing CivKit or something, and he did the other one before, everyone loved it. It was like big in Nigeria. I can't remember the name all of a sudden. I can't remember his name. Anyway, you know, that guy's out there saying, I did all this work to make it a money transfer system, and I can't recommend Bitcoin anymore because the fees are too expensive, because the ETF buyers and sellers and the ordinals people and all these other people are doing all this stuff, and it's no longer good for remittances. Now, that sucks. It sucks. But before COVID, I used to think maybe we can make Bitcoin standard in the world by getting all these plebs together and doing sort of revolution with a bunch of poor people who are now Bitcoin holders, and we can change the world just through numbers. I believed it was possible to do it that way. After COVID and seeing how rock bottom stupid most people are, I don't believe that anymore, right? It's just not possible. We got to go with the smart, capable people, and they just happen to be Wall Street people and energy people, and enough of them can be corrupted with Bitcoin that we can, yeah. Ray Youssef, yes, Ray Youssef, yes, thank you. So, you know, look, Ray, I have no problem with his intentions, right? But it's not because, you know, it's not because he's a good person and his opinions are helpful to people that it's going to go that way, or that it has to go that way. It looks to me like the only way we can do this is by corrupting Wall Street. And by corrupting, I mean just let Bitcoin affect their minds and spark their greed for Bitcoin, and then we get to that point, right? So when you think about all the things that are happening in the fiat world, the inability to do things anymore, the inability to, you know, the story about the California high-speed rail thing, right? California mocked over an $11 billion high-speed rail bridge to nowhere that took 9 years to build, right? So if you haven't seen these pictures, they just built this one platform. It's the raised platform of the high-speed rail thing, and that's all that's been built. It's just one raised bridge. Now, it's important, by the way, if you get into the engineering of these things, that they do have sort of not a lot of elevation up and down, and that when they do, those things have to be specially engineered because of the speeds of these things. So they can't, like a high-speed train can't do what we're used to in America, which is running it through a road where the little things come down, right? That doesn't work. So you can't have any of those crossways. They have to go over all of it, right? So if you're on the Shinkansen in Japan, you're never doing, like, you're not going through a town and then the barriers come down with the lights. That's old train tech. You can't have any of that in a high-speed rail situation. You got to rebuild all of that. So that's basically what they did. They built one bridge over a road, and it's not even like a mile long, right? It's not long at all, and it cost them almost as much as the entire Chinese rail system, right? So, but the going back to the wealth piece, right? So you have all these Californians realizing this is going wrong. And that's why we can really tell that things are changing, because rich people are starting to really question. These guys were all liberals last time around. Like I said, they were all liberals around the 2020 debate, the 2016 debate, and political elections. They're not so anymore, right? We get this from the All In podcast this weekend. So the All In podcast, and this goes back to the capital gains thing and what they're doing to the wealth of wealthy people, the fortunes they've amassed, right? So the All In podcast tackles Biden's extreme proposed hike in capital gains tax. He combines Dick Cheney's foreign policy with Elizabeth Warren's economic policy. Are you going to vote for your own financial liquidation? Jason Calcanis says it would create the highest cap gains tax rate in 100 years. David Sachs, either vote for your own financial liquidation or vote for the orange man. Calcanis says this is crushing for those folks who want to vote for Biden but are moderates, because this is like the number one thing you can do to stop innovation and investment in the country. Calcanis goes on, these are the two worst candidates in history. Sachs says Biden has had 4 years to prove that he's a moderate. He's had 4 years to represent normalcy that he promised us. How much more does it take for you to understand that this is a policy radical? Sachs continues, he combines, that's the Dick Cheney line. Calcanis says again, it's the worst two candidates, and I think I'm voting for the third. I think I have to put the protest vote in for RFK. I think he's a great vote for Democrats, David Sachs says. Congratulations, Biden, on making this easy for Trump with his Build Back Broke plan. So dumb. So you're starting to get enough rich people who are realizing this stuff, right? And, it's why Bitcoiners don't have the following impression. If you're stuck in the fiat world, here's an article that I had from the Washington Post today too, right? So the Washington Post saying the following. College protests, a Trump trial, raging wars, is everything on fire? Americans have been thrust under a cloud of chaos that seems to thicken with every breaking news alert. And they have it right there. Indeed, the cloud of chaos thickens with every breaking news alert, but it's not because the cloud of chaos is real. It's because of the breaking news alerts. It's the actual brainwashers. It's the actual media doing this. It's actually them saying all this stuff is going on. Now, I don't doubt there are problems in the world, but Bitcoiners know we're at the precipice of an actual golden age for humanity, a golden age. Like, I'm flying in an airplane tonight, and I'm going to have high-speed internet on my airplane. Now, I understand wealth inequality and this and that, right? I get all that. Not everyone has access to this stuff. It's a problem, right? It's a major problem. But the stuff we already have, the stuff that places like where I'm going, Qatar, they're not bound to this entropy of generations. They're living a golden age right now. They're living with what they would think of as their baby boomer generation, just in normal high income earning age now, with large families. They have no intention of getting on board with America's malaise and saying, oh, we give up. Oh no, we can't do this anymore. Everything's on fire. It's only on fire in America, and only on fire because the media, with exactly as they say, each news breaking alert is where you get to this stuff. Now, again, Bitcoiners have known this was coming for a long time. We've known that fiat is unsalvageable, that it will die like this, and it will die exactly as the Gulch predicted. It'll die exactly with the government going after all these wealthy people to try and get them with unrealized capital gains taxes. But again, go back to my original prediction of how we win and destroy the fiat system. It's the rich people. They're seeing there's no future with the Democrats, and they were fashionably Democrat for decades. They never had to think about it because it was, what's the difference? 10 million in taxes or 15 million in taxes. I don't have to argue with people. And if you're that wealthy, it doesn't make a difference, right? So the reason why we're getting this kind of change, the reason why we're getting this kind of thirst for something different, is because the actual battle plan, the actual battle front, the battle lines are shifting so quickly in a way that Bitcoiners understood. So smart Bitcoiners have seen this coming for a while. We have the least amount of adjustment to do in order to welcome this new world. We're not going to get beaten down by things that suck like Wasabi and CoinJoin. But again, the privacy stuff to me is tomorrow's fight. That's 2028. And not because of elections, not because of that, just the cycle of how we're going through this stuff. This time around, it's the energy companies, it's Wall Street, and that is who we have to convince. That is who we need to get inside of psychologically and orient towards what we want. And that's happening naturally. I mean, that is more or less the game theory that Satoshi Nakamoto unleashed on the world, that in the same way that Jesus Christ loves us for who we are, and we don't have to change necessarily, have to be a better person, but that doesn't change how everyone is welcome, everyone is accepted as you are, right? Remember, the first person Jesus lets into heaven, the only person we know, technically, the only person we know who definitely made it was the murderer next to him while he was getting crucified. And even the murderer gets forgiven. Even the murderer is loved, right? Jesus accepts people for who they are, how they are. And that's one of the great similarities that we see with Satoshi and Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't ask any of us to be better people, ever. It doesn't ask you to be a better person. It can make you a better person, but it doesn't mean you have to start with being some virtuous person that's kind and thoughtful towards others. None of that matters. None of it matters. People are greedy. All people, right? Remember, Jesus loves us no matter what, as greedy as we are, right? Bitcoin was set up in such a way that didn't matter how greedy you were. It wants you to be greedy. Go compete to be greedy in the system and see how it goes. It will force you into telling the truth. It will force you into not lying. It will force you into more constructive economic relationships that are more mutually beneficial than anything we've seen until now, right? That's why I say often, Satoshi Nakamoto invented money. We didn't have money before. We had things that acted like money, things that we could use instead of, but we didn't actually have money yet. Satoshi invented money, like literally didn't exist before. And if you have good money in this way, you can actually start with the subconscious rewiring of people, which is what happened with Fiat. They were subconsciously rewired. That's why they think the world is on fire, because their system of account, their unit of account, their worldview basis, the numeraire behind everything, the dollar, is a useless measuring stick and is highly propagandized by the node propagation system of the dollar, which is the media. So, again, it's why everyone's confused. Think about this, right? We've got ABC News running this article. 6 months out from Election Day, Donald Trump prevails in trust to handle most issues. Yet, President Joe Biden scores competitively on key personal attributes, right? So they're saying all of America thinks Trump can do a better job, except Biden's a better person. He's a better person, everybody. It's okay. He's a great person, right? So, again, you can go through all the numbers. Everyone's sort of bending towards Trump, but it shows, again, that the conversation has shifted despite what the media says, right? Imagine the trust that even ABC is reporting on here, the trust Americans have in solving the problems of the country. Trump has it. They're trying to say that Biden's a better person, but on what, right? If you actually scratch 10 seconds, you find out he's a super scumbag, right? It doesn't take much to understand he's a scumbag. I'm not saying Trump is a awesome, nice fella who everyone should love, and he's a softie and he's kind-hearted. I've never met him. I don't know exactly what it is. I love the character. I love seeing it. He seems like a nicer guy to me, but I could be completely wrong about that, right? I'm sure he's capable of being an asshole. Right? I'm pretty sure. But we love him for that. But even look at this, right? New York Times. Look at how much things are changing. This comes from the New York Times, right? This is from the Nate Silver sharing this. The New York Times editor, right, says the following. Wesley Yang writes this. The New York Times editor has defected from the astroturf pseudo-reality the paper works so tirelessly to summon into being. Now, this is the thing, right? The way Wesley Yang has written this, right? The New York Times editor has defected from the astroturfed pseudo-reality the paper works so tirelessly to summon into being. That's Fiat right there. That's it. That's what it has to do now, right? Fiat literally has to conjure reality into being because its connection to reality has been broken. It's totally broken. So they need to conjure it, a pseudo-reality, an astroturfed pseudo-reality. And Wesley's saying, can the people lead its audience out of the simulation, or will its financial health require it to remain ensnared by it? So that's Wesley Yang. But the thing they're all commenting on, Nate Silver shared this, and this comes from, so you got Ben Smith, the owner of Semaphore. What did I tell you about Semaphore? Complete scam, right? So don't trust anything from Semaphore. It's a total SBF creation, which means SBF did not. it's like what I always say about the Washington Post with Jeff Bezos. Yeah. Jeff Bezos is like, I got a great business idea, newspapers. And I'm going to get one that loses $50 billion a year, or 50 million or 100 million or whatever it loses a year, right? What a great plan, right? So obviously, I don't think Jeff Bezos wanted to do this. For some reason, he's doing it. In the same way, now it could have just been someone's idea and he's got to do his duty. I don't think he's necessarily blackmailed into doing it, but I don't think that what we see with him owning it and what's come out is exactly correct. Well, SBF was the same with the Semaphore thing. All of a sudden, he was into media, right? I'm into media now. Maybe, but this is the one he started. So I've been following them from the beginning. They've got their writer here, Ben Smith, saying, Dan Pfeiffer, who used to work for Barack Obama, recently wrote in the Times, they do not see their job as saving democracy or stopping an authoritarian from taking power. Why don't you see your job as we've got to stop Trump? What about your job doesn't let you think that way? So Ben Smith is asking the editor of the New York Times, why don't you run defense for the government against Donald Trump? Because obviously, he's an autocrat, right? So Joe, this is where things have gotten. He says, good media is the fourth estate. It's another pillar of democracy. One of the absolute necessities of democracy is having free and fair and open election where people can compete for votes. And the role of the news media in that environment is not to skew your coverage towards one candidate or the other. The New York Times is saying this, but it's a change, right? But just to provide very good, hard-hitting, well-rounded coverage for both candidates and informing voters. If you believe in democracy, I don't see how we get past the essential role of quality media and informing people about their choice in a presidential election. To say that the threats to democracy are so great that the media is going to abandon its central role as a source of impartial information to help people vote, that's essentially saying that the news media should become a propaganda arm for a single candidate because we prefer that candidate's agenda. It's true that Biden's agenda is more in sync with traditional establishment parties and candidates, and we're reporting on that and making it very clear. So, that's the reason why, if you think of, this is a good one. We got Jeff Daniels, right? Jeff Daniels, known for Dumb and Dumber, right? So he's dumber. So Dumber from Dumb and Dumber wrote the following. Actor Jeff, and this makes the news somehow. Actor Jeff Daniels said he hopes the 2024 election voters will ultimately choose President Biden amid what he called the ongoing war on democracy. The war on democracy. So that's how you get to this position. They're left with Dumber from Dumb and Dumber as a spokesperson for saving democracy. That's what they're left with. That's the quality of people they have left, right? Meanwhile, Bitcoiners have folks like David Sachs and Jason Calacanis and all these other folks starting to talk about the corruption of fiat. It doesn't matter which political candidate they like. They now understand the corruption of the system at a pretty intimate level. And it doesn't look like the system is offering anyone a way out. It's turning into pure communism, take away people's private property. It might work. It might actually work, right? It might actually work. But I don't think so. So looks like we're going to win, guys. Looks like we're going to win. And if you think about it, right, that's why the game is really about attracting capable people right now, attracting able people. It's why I positioned my belligerent, if I was to write the Wikipedia article in 5 years on World War III, You know how all the other World War Wikipedia articles put belligerents, right? World War II, Axis and Allies, right? So my World War III one is the all lies, right? The all lies, not the allies, the all lies against the ables. The able people, it's just individuals. It's not nation state backed people. It's Elon Musk, it's David Sachs, it's Bitcoiners, right? Individual people showing up, doing their thing is enough. It's enough to win. And the pleb hodl psychology is what is going to allow the commodity based folks to get all in with Bitcoin, because remember, it's a psychological commodity. And because we're not adjusting like the fiat people, because we're not, what is going on in the world? This is the normal process of a sick system dying. It's dying. It's not finding a new shape. It's just dying, right? And other things are going to replace it. And the other things that are replacing it were on top of it. So it's easy for us to understand what's coming. It's easy for us to see around the corner. The subject of economics, right, which is really just choices that people make, right? It's just choices. All of economics, I don't believe there is such a thing as macro and microeconomics, by the way. I know it's taught that way. That's a stupid way of teaching it. Macroeconomics, what we think of as macroeconomics, is really politics. It's nothing else but politics. Microeconomics, which they call these choices about how we buy things, the personal choices, that's a big part of economics, right? So there's a mix here. It's just economics and politics, and they are separate. It's not macro and microeconomics, right? Politics are macroeconomics. This is one subject versus the choices individuals make. So the economic mind, using economics as a frame, provides a predictive lens. You can actually predict the future using economics, because you can understand incentives, what people would decide on, why they would decide on it. I can bet on the greed of Wall Street and the greed of energy companies to become Bitcoiners because of the failure of fiat. It's not because they like the argument, oh, Bitcoin is 21 million. Oh, the plebs love Bitcoin. That doesn't matter, right? It matters in so much as the plebs create a floor price, which is what will spark their greed, right? They know that the plebs have their backs. If you're a rich person and you know these plebs have your back for preserving your wealth up to a certain level, you're going to go, good, right? That's good. And you can predict people will do that after. So this capacity that we have through learning economics because of Bitcoin actually allows us to see around corners. It actually allows us to predict, because we're not busy trying to grab a life preserver and survive while the world changes around us. It's changing fast, but not that fast, in the sense that we're on schedule. We're doing exactly what we thought we'd be doing now. Right here, sitting in 2024, I honestly didn't believe I'd be doing anything different than what I'm doing right now. Nothing. It's exactly correct, right? And I've been a professional in Bitcoin for over 10 years. This is exactly where I thought I would be. And that shows, anyway, that our ability to weather this storm, to plan for the future, is already at such a level that it's going to be hard for the fiat sludge people to win. Really hard, right? Especially if we get greed entering the subconscious of the energy companies and Wall Street, which it already looks like it's happened, right? I don't think the mind virus of Bitcoin can be stopped on Wall Street now. That's just going to penetrate and take over. Energy is another story, but we're getting there quick, right? All right, I got a call in a few minutes before I get out of here, so I'm not going to be reading any of these comments. Sorry about that, guys. Understanding Bitcoin, says Sachs. Yeah, I mean, you can't blame anyone. Again, it's not style. We're not here for style points, right? As Bitcoiners, we got to understand style is like a fiat thing, right? How you looked when you did the thing. It doesn't matter who joins our side, how they got rich, where they got their fiat from. As long as they convert it to Bitcoin, it's good for us. And so when I see all of this stuff going on, oh, they got an advantage, oh, they were close to the money printer, that's all true, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't welcome them into the fight on our side. They're too useful for us to not do that, right? I don't care how fiat falls. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference who's on which side, as long as we win. right? So that's an important factor, right? Yeah, Biden's a good person. Laugh my ass off. Yeah. Bitcoin is built on the mathematics of abundance. It sure is. Yeah. Is it a Boeing plane? I don't think so. I think it's an Airbus, but I didn't check yet. Travel well, Jason says. Bitcoin Deb says, hodlers are the seeds to new growth out of the rot. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like that. When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. I like it. All right, team. Thanks for the well wishes. I'll see you on the airplane. Peace.